Thanks so much to all my patrons. Join now to help support the channel and help pick the books I review on this channel. Link in the description. Hey everyone, so it is the first of the month, and that means it's time for me to talk about my April TBR list, and commonly referred to as my April TBR. But before we go into the books, let's talk quickly about the March TBR contest. So as I'm sure you're probably aware, unless you're watching this kind of video for the first time, I run a contest where you predict how I'll score all the books I'll read in the upcoming month. The top 3 spots win, and the winners are highlighted in my TBR video. And if you win twice, you get to pick a book for me to read and review. And we've had 5 or 6 people that have won twice and got to pick any book they've wanted. And most of them have been good, a couple of stinkers, but mostly good. Last month we had 257 contestants, and I will hope you join this month. So click on the link down in the description to officially submit your picks, and join the Discord if you'd like to follow along with updates after each book so you can kind of find out how you're doing. So the TBR winner of the gold medal was Adam Hill, who got 7 out of 9 correct and only missed 4 total points. And by total points, I mean like if Adam guessed a 4 and I actually gave it a 5, then Adam missed by 1 and would get 1 missed point. If Adam guessed 3 and I gave it a 5, he'd miss 2 total points. So missing 4 total points out of 9 guesses is pretty crazy good. The silver medal went to 𝐷𝘐𝐻, who got 6 out of 9 correct and missed 3 total points. And the bronze went to 𝐓𝐿, who also got 6 out of 9 and also missed a total of 3 out of 3 points, but had a lower tiebreaker score. I do a tiebreaker where you just predict the overall rating I'll give all the books that month, and yeah, that's why 𝐓𝐿 ended up in 3rd place. So the book that most people got right was my 5-star rating of A Little Hatred by Joe Abercrombie, where 229 people got this right, which is 89%. And the book most got wrong was my 3-star rating of The Ice by Ryan Cahill, where only 8 people got that correct, which is about 3%. The worst score was 0, which is always the worst score. Somebody always gets 0, and that was shared by 3 people. And the average score this month was 3.18 correct, averaged out across everybody. So let's go into the books for this next month and talk about them a little bit. So the first one is The Tales of the Sun Eater Volume 2. This is, of course, in the Sun Eater series by 𝐓𝐿 𝐂𝐿. I'll be doing this in ebook format. I'm already finished with it, actually. I went way too fast reading in the previous month, and I DNF'd a book pretty early on that was a really big one, so it moved up my whole schedule. So I'm done with this one. I'm not telling anybody what I thought about it. I've been hiding my thoughts about this one for this contest. It's a really short book. It's only 157 pages of like 5 or so short stories. But I will say that before I started reading it, I predicted 4 out of 5 stars. I predicted 4 out of 5 because I, in general, like the 𝐓𝐿 𝐂𝐿 short story novella format that he does. I'm not a huge fan of the shorter form content in general. I always like longer stuff when I give him the option. If you make something 2,000 pages, and I'll like it way more than something like 50 pages. But yeah, I will say that I didn't love the first Tales of the Sun Eater, but I have heard some better things about this one. But I just love the Sun Eater, and I love the Sun Eater so much more since I've read the first Tales of the Sun Eater, and it just makes me itching to get more of the series and more of the content. And yeah, was definitely excited to jump into this one. The next book that I read was also from the Sun Eater. I didn't want to go so long reading a Sun Eater book and then just whet my appetite with a 150-page book, so I decided to read the actual full-length novel that comes up after that one, which is Kingdoms of Death. Of course, this is by 𝐓𝐿 𝐂𝐿. I did this in book format. Already done with this one. It was 545 pages, and my prediction for this was 5. And that's not the boldest of predictions in the world, because I've given a 5 stars to each of the 3 main books in the series before that. And I've heard wonderful things. Now, the one hesitation I had about this book before going into it was that everyone that I've talked to, and maybe not every single person, but the vast majority have said that the second book is better than the first, and the third is better than the second, but that the fourth and fifth books are not as good as the third one. And I think in general what people have told me is the fourth and fifth books are really supposed to be read as one continuous book. That was the author's intent, but it was too long, and the publisher told the author that they need to split up into 2 different books, so it doesn't have that traditional arc that you would normally see out of one of these books, and it harms it. I think about about my my experience with 𝐬𝐻𝐿, where my least favorite 𝐬𝐻𝐿 book was the second to last book in that series, because the books were supposed to be combined, and the publisher didn't want to have a 2,000-page book to try to figure out how to bind up. And then the final book of that ended up being my favorite book of all time. So, who knows how those things work. So, yep, my prediction for this one, 5 out of 5, and I was pretty confident in that one before I predicted it. Then is Traitor's Blade. This is part of the Great Coat series by 𝐓𝐵 𝐂𝐵, doing this one in audiobook format. I'm not done with this one, but I'm almost done. So I don't want to give you my current prediction for it, because my current prediction is basically what I'm going to give it. But it's a real short one. It's only 300 pages, and I'm predicting 4 out of 5 stars. So I picked up this book because I am desperate for more good audiobooks to read. I have a problem focusing when I listen to audiobooks, where I need to have a book that's a little more simple. I don't want some grand epic fantasy where I got to take notes or something to be able to figure out what's going on. I can't imagine doing something like 𝐬𝐻𝐿, for example, an audiobook. I need something with more basic point of views, ideally one point of view or a small handful of point of views. And so I remember I made a post on YouTube a while back that mentioned this dilemma I'm having and said, suggest for me your audiobooks. And this was one of the ones that was highly rated by people that also said that the audiobook narrator did a good job. So yeah, that's why I'm reading it. I have so many books that are on my physical book TBR list, but so little on my audiobook TBR. So that's why this one's on there. But yeah, 4-star prediction is kind of the average grade that I give out for books. So that's the average grade that I toss out here on predictions if I don't really have a strong feeling about it beforehand. Then next up was The Dragon's Path. This is part of the Dagger and the Coin series by Daniel Abraham, doing this one in book format. I just finished this one today. And then we're done with the books that I've already read. Then we can actually talk about actual predictions. This one was 592 pages, and I predicted 4 out of 5 stars before I started reading it. I never heard of this one before. I know the author, Daniel Abraham. He's the guy that did one half of the duo that is James S.A. Corey, that wrote The Expanse, and also wrote Age of Ash, which was in the 𝐓𝐿 series, which I just got done reading last month, that I didn't love. I gave it a 3 out of 5. But I did like his writing itself. I just didn't love the plot. But I keep feeling like Daniel Abraham could have a book that I really like. I'm reading this one because the person that told me to read 𝐒𝐿𝐴 was my book last month, where I did the Patreon wheel. On Patreon, people can submit a book. At the end of the month, I spin a wheel, and whatever it selects, I have to read and review. Well, it was 𝐒𝐿𝐴. I hated it so quickly that I couldn't bear reading it. I dropped it, and I went back to the guy that it was picked, and I said, hey, I'm really sorry, I didn't end up reading 𝐒𝐿𝐴, but give me another book, and I'll read it no matter what. And it was this one. So, yeah, was definitely looking forward to it, and you'll have to see what that review is in a few days. Then, finally, for a book that that I didn't just get done finished reading, and this is The Trouble with Peace. This is part of the First Law series. It is the Age of Madness, the second book in the Age of Madness series by Joe Abercrombie. I'm doing this one on audiobook, like I do all my First Law books, like you should as well, because the audiobook narration is... should finish this up around April 7th. It is 521 pages, and I'm predicting 5 out of 5 stars. I have read this one before a few years back. I'm doing a reread of the First Law, and I just love the First Law. I've given them all 5 stars except for the Red Country on my rereads. Red Country is the only one thus far that I didn't give it a 5 out of 5. So I'm immensely confident that I'm going to give the same score to this one. I'll probably end up making the question on this one. No, I'll probably just make it a simple, what will I rate this book? Sometimes I get a little tricky and I say like, well, I like it more or less than the last time I rate it, but because I have tiebreakers in here now, I don't really feel bad putting in kind of gimme questions in here to reward people that actually watch this video when doing the contest. But I love the First Law. And this Age of Madness trilogy, which is the second trilogy in the series, so the series goes trilogy, First Law trilogy, 3 standalones, Age of Madness. And I think the Age of Madness is better than the First Law. And I love the First Law. And Joe Abercrombie is like my second favorite author of all time behind Stephen Erickson. So yeah. Can't wait to read this one again. I want to get back into this world. I finished up reading the first one a month and a half ago, and I can't stop thinking about it. And I want to keep it fresh in my mind as I go into this. So yeah, can't wait. Then is 𝐼𝐻𝐿. This is part of the 𝐼𝐻𝐿 saga by Daniel D. Jackson. I'm reading this one because it was the Patreon vote, so every month also on Patreon. I put up 5 books that I'm interested in reading, and they select which one I have to read the next month. This one won by a decent amount. Doing this one in ebook format. Should finish this up around April 8th. It is 714 pages, and I'm predicting 4 out of 5 stars. I really don't know anything about this. I wish I did know more so I could give you some content here, besides me just flailing. But I like to read books that I don't really know anything about. I like that surprise. I like to trust people that I know that say that things are good, and I like to just say, okay, now I'm not going to learn anything more about it. Let me get into it. I don't even know if it's like epic fantasy or grimdark or what it is, but we'll see what it is. But I gotta guess 4 out of 5 because that's the average score that I give a book. Then is Priest of Bones. This is part of The War for the Rose Throne by Peter McLean. Doing this in audiobook. Should finish this up around April 13th. It is a smaller one, 352 pages. And once again, I know nothing about this. Absolutely nothing. So, yeah, let's see what this one's all about because, yeah, I am totally clueless here. Yeah, so 4 stars. And in that clueless, I'm very clueless about a lot of books here, but it is The Emperor's Blades. This is part of the Chronicle of the Unhewn Throne by Brian Staveley. Doing this in audiobook. Should finish this up around April 19th, which is my birthday. 480 pages and guessing 4 out of 5 stars. Yep, again, who knows? Okay, now let's for a book that I'm well familiar with, and it is Gardens of the Moon. This is the first book in Malazan Book of the Fallen by Steven Erikson, my favorite series of all time. This is a buddy read, and I'm so excited about doing a buddy read of my favorite series. I'm not going to do every book in the series, but starting it out, trying to get new people hooked into the series like I am. A lot of people are kind of intimidated by this series, rightfully or wrongfully, and I think it's just great because we can have this group discussion on it to ease all these concerns out. So if you've ever thought about getting into Malazan or haven't, and especially if you're nervous about it, this is the perfect opportunity to kind of kick out all those nerves and let's do it together. I'm doing this in ebook format because I can't imagine doing these in audiobook because it's so complicated. Should finish this up later on in the month around April 24th or so, or April 23rd. 712 pages, and I'm predicting 5 stars. I gave it 4 stars the first time I read it. I was a little lost. I enjoyed what I read, but I didn't know everything that I read, and I was confused. And now going back, God, I can't wait to read this. Because I've read the series, I understand what's going on, and I just imagine going to this. I'm going to get everything, and I'll be able to get all out of it, or more out of it, that I probably have to read this many times to be able to get all out of it, or maybe I'll never be able to do that. Maybe it would not be possible for me, who knows? But I know that I'll know what's going on, and it's going to just make me be able to focus on the plot more and get more enjoyment out of it. So I feel pretty dang confident on 5 out of 5 stars. Then is The Ember Blade. This is part of the Darkwater Legacy by Chris Wooding, a book and a series and an author that I've never heard about before. And because this is part of the Patreon raffle. So most of the books in there I've never really heard much about, because if I did, I'd probably read them by now. But I'm doing this in book format. Should finish this up around April 24th. It is a big one. It is 832 pages. But I did look up a little bit about it, and it looks right up my alley. I looked up the genre it is. It's like an epic fantasy grimdark. Some of the people that I agree with a lot on Goodreads are saying really good things about it. I don't know what it's about, but I feel pretty confident I'm really going to like this one. So if I could predict 4.5, I would, but I'm going to bump it up a little bit to 5. So those are all the books that I'm reading this month. Now that you've done with this video, go fill out the TBR prediction sheet. I'd love to have you participate. Join along with the fun. It's a blast. So thank you so much for watching this review, and as always, happy reading to you. Thanks again to all of my patrons, with a special shout out to my Ascendant tier and Librarian tier patrons: Anna G, CJ, Doust, Darren, Gil, Gregory, JD, Jonathan, Nathan T, Nev's Book Channel, 𝗓𝗏𝗏, Ron Reich, Russell, Ryan L, Sydney Baker, Tay C, Tahir, Tommy, Zion, Anna, Andra, Blair, Brock, Evan, Joe UK, Kat Mick, Michael Sugarman, Philippe, Sky, and Wacky. Thanks for sticking to the end of this video, and if you want to watch some more content from my channel, click over here and I've got some good videos for you. Thanks so much.